Imagine you are standing at the edge of a cliff. The wind is howling. Behind you is a forest fire closing in that is fear. Below you, in the deep valley, glimmers a pile of gold that is greed. You have to make a jump. You have to make a decision. But your legs are trembling, and your heart is pounding so hard you can't hear your own thoughts. This is not just a metaphor. This is the exact physiological state we enter when we stare at a plunging stock market graph, when we are about to sign a risky business contract, or even when we navigate complex relationships. We like to think of ourselves as rational, logical beings. We believe we make decisions based on data, spreadsheets, and facts. But neuroscientists and psychologists tell us a different story. The amygdala, the primitive part of our brain responsible for survival, often hijacks the steering wheel long before our logical prefrontal cortex even wakes up. Greed and fear are not emotions we should be ashamed of. They are ancient software code written into our DNA. Fear kept our ancestors from being eaten by predators. Greed ensured they stockpiled enough food to survive the winter. But here is the problem. We are running this ancient software in a modern world where the threats are not saber-toothed tigers, but market volatility and red notification badges. The rewards are not survival, but status and digital numbers. When these instincts misfire, they cloud our judgment. They create noise. And in that noise, we lose the ability to see the truth. So, how do we quiet this noise? How do we reclaim our clarity? To answer this, we don't need a new algorithm or a better financial app. We need to travel back in time and consult the greatest masters of the human mind, the four sages who understood the human condition long before the invention of the stock market. Let's first sit with Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He offers us a piercing insight into the nature of greed. He wouldn't tell you to simply stop wanting money. Instead, he would point to the concept of tanha, or craving. He would tell you the story of the monkey trap. In ancient times, hunters would hollow out a coconut and put a sweet nut inside. The hole was just big enough for a monkey's open hand, but too small for a fist holding the nut. The monkey grabs the nut, but because of its greed, it refuses to let go. It remains trapped, not by the coconut, but by its own attachment. We are often that monkey. We hold on to a losing investment because we crave the recovery. We chase a risky trend because we crave the quick win. Buddha teaches us the middle way. It is the practice of detachment. It means looking at the opportunity not with the desperate heat of desire, but with the cool distance of an observer. When you feel the pull of, I must have this, that is the moment to pause and ask, am I holding the nut, or is the nut holding me? Now, let's walk to Athens and meet Socrates. If Buddha addresses our greed, Socrates confronts our fear. Fear, Socrates would argue, is almost always a child of ignorance. We fear what we do not understand. When the market crashes, we panic because we don't know the true value of what we own. When we fear a career change, it's because we haven't examined our own capabilities. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." In the context of decision-making, he is asking us, why are you afraid? Peel back the layers. Are you afraid of poverty? Are you afraid of judgment? Or are you afraid of your own inadequacy? By relentlessly questioning our fear, by shining the light of logic into the dark corners of our mind, the monster shrinks. We realize the shadow on the wall was just a trick of the light. Knowledge is the antidote to fear. When you truly know thyself, you know exactly what risks you can handle, and the panic subsides into calculated strategy. But knowing is not enough. We need balance. This brings us to Confucius. In a world of extremes, Confucius taught the doctrine of the mean. Imagine a tightrope walker. If they lean too far to the left towards reckless greed, they fall. If they lean too far to the right, paralyzed by fear, they never move forward. Confucius viewed decision-making not as a solitary act, but as a harmonization with the world. A superior man, or junsi, does not act on impulse. He acts with propriety and balance. In modern terms, this is portfolio diversification. It is emotional regulation. It is the discipline to say, I will not get too high when I win, and I will not get too low when I lose. Confucius teaches us that character is destiny. If you cultivate a balanced character, your decisions will naturally align with the right path, regardless of external chaos. Finally, we turn to Jesus of Nazareth. His teaching cuts through the noise with a radical proposition: faith and love. There is a story where Peter attempts to walk on water towards Jesus. As long as Peter focuses on his destination, on the Master, he walks on the impossible. But the moment he looks down at the storm, the chaotic waves, the wind fear enters, and he begins to sink. This is a profound lesson for modern decision-making. The storm is the daily news cycle, the rumors, the volatility. If you focus on the noise, you sink. But if you have faith, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in your thesis, faith in your preparation, and faith in the long-term value, can walk through the storm. Jesus also taught that perfect love casts out fear. When your decision is driven by a purpose larger than yourself, perhaps to provide for your family, to build something of value for society, the petty fear of failure vanishes. Love provides a courage that logic cannot. So, how do we synthesize this ancient wisdom into a modern strategy? How do we act when the notification bell rings tomorrow morning? First, apply the Socratic method. Audit your emotions. Write down exactly what you are feeling. Is this excitement or anxiety? Name it to tame it. Second, apply the Buddhist detachment. Step back. If you didn't own this asset, would you buy it today? Let go of the nut. Third, find the Confucian balance. Check your exposure. Are you betting the farm, or are you moving steadily? And finally, summon the faith Jesus spoke of. Focus on the horizon, not the waves. The greatest investors, the greatest leaders, they are not people without emotions. They feel the same adrenaline and the same panic as you do. The difference is, they have built a space between the stimulus and the response. In that space, they do not react, they respond. They replace greed with purpose. They replace fear with curiosity. The market, the world, life itself, it will always oscillate between the highs and the lows. That is its nature. But you do not have to oscillate with it. You can be the calm eye of the storm. You can be the observer. And from that place of stillness, you will not just make better decisions, you will find a freedom that no amount of gold can buy. The choice, ultimately, is not about what is on the screen. It is about who is watching it.